Poor janitor saves billionaire. DNA test shocks everyone. The glass shattered before anyone understood what was happening. Sir, are you okay? Mr. Kalu didn't respond. His body hit the marble floor with a heavy thud, his head barely missing the edge of the table. His hand twitched once, then went still. The boardroom froze. 6 executives, expensive suits, million-dollar deals on the table, and not one of them moved. "Call 911, someone shouted, but even that voice shook. Another man stepped back. "Don't touch him, we could make it worse." Mr. Kalu's breathing turned rough, uneven, like he was drowning in air. Then a bucket dropped. Clang! All heads turned. It was David, the janitor. He stood at the door, eyes wide, chest rising fast. He had been cleaning the hallway. Nobody even noticed him walk in. For 1 second, he hesitated. Then he ran. "Move!" The executives stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Hey, what are you doing?" one snapped. David ignored him. He dropped to his knees beside Mr. Kalu, checking his pulse with shaking fingers. Nothing. "Call the ambulance now," David shouted.
Welcome to Love and Lies Tales, where passion meets betrayal, and every story hides a dark secret. Please like, subscribe, and turn on your notification for more intriguing stories. Tell me in the comment section which city you're watching from, and what day did this video find you on?
"Call the ambulance now," David shouted. "They already..." "Call again." There was something in his voice. Urgent, serious, different. It silenced the room. David placed both hands on Mr. Kalu's chest and pushed, once, twice, hard. "What are you doing?" another executive yelled. "You'll kill him." David didn't stop. 30 compressions. "Come on," he muttered under his breath. His hands pressed again and again. Sweat formed on his forehead. His breathing grew heavy. "Come on, sir. Stay with me." No response. David leaned down, tilted Mr. Kalu's head, and gave him a breath. One of the executives turned away. "This is crazy." David ignored everything. Again. Compress, compress, compress. Then a weak gasp. Mr. Kalu's body jerked slightly. Everyone froze. Again, David whispered. He kept going. Then finally, a faint, shaky breath. "He's breathing," someone shouted. The room erupted. "He's alive!" "Oh my God!" Sirens wailed in the distance. David sat back slowly, his hands trembling. He stared at Mr. Kalu's face, like he was trying to make sure he was still there. Alive. 2 hours later. The waiting room was silent. Expensive shoes tapped nervously on the floor. Phones buzzed, but nobody picked up. Mr. Kalu's daughter paced back and forth. "What happened? He was fine this morning." "No one knows," one executive said quietly. Another added, "If that janitor didn't step in." She stopped walking. "What janitor?" They all looked at each other. David sat alone at the far end of the hallway. His uniform was still damp with sweat. His hands rested on his knees, but they wouldn't stop shaking. A nurse walked past him, then paused. "Are you family?" David shook his head. "No." "You were the one who helped him." He hesitated. "Yes?" She nodded slowly. "You saved his life." David looked down. "I just did what I could." But his voice was low, like he didn't want attention. A doctor walked out. "Family of Mr. Kalu?" Everyone rushed forward. "How is he?" his daughter asked. The doctor exhaled. "He's stable, for now, but it was close, very close." "What caused it?" "Severe cardiac arrest, and there's something else," the doctor said carefully. "What?" "He's lost a lot of blood internally. We may need a transfusion." "That's fine," his daughter said quickly. "We'll arrange it." The doctor shook his head. "It's not that simple. His blood type is rare. Silence. How rare? One executive asked. Very rare. We're testing family members now, but... He didn't finish the sentence. The meaning was clear. Time was running out. David heard everything. He slowly stood up, then walked toward them. Excuse me. They all turned. His daughter looked confused. Yes? I can get tested. One executive frowned. Tested for what? David swallowed. For blood. A few of them exchanged looks. You? One said quietly. David nodded. The doctor stepped closer. You're willing? Yes. All right, the doctor said. Follow me. Testing room. David sat still as the nurse prepared the needle. You seem calm, she said. I'm not, he replied softly. She smiled a little. Most people would be nervous. I am nervous, David said. Just not about the needle. She paused. Then what? David didn't answer. 1 hour later, the doctor walked fast down the hallway, papers in hand. Where is the family? He asked. Here. Mr. Kalu's daughter stood up. The doctor looked surprised. Then he looked back at the file. There's something unexpected. What is it? She asked. He hesitated, then said slowly, We found a match. Relief hit the room instantly. Thank God, who is it? She asked. The doctor looked over their shoulders, at David. It's him. Silence. One of the executives laughed lightly. That's not possible. The doctor didn't smile. It is. Mr. Kalu's daughter frowned. Are you sure? 100% compatible. She turned to David, really looked at him this time. You work here? Yes. As janitor. Another silence. Then she said quietly, And you're a match for my father? David nodded. The doctor spoke again. We need to act fast. Are you willing to donate? David didn't hesitate. Yes. As they wheeled him away, one executive whispered, This doesn't make sense. Another replied, Yeah, it doesn't. But the real question had just been born, and no one in that room was ready for the answer. The hospital room was quiet, except for the slow beeping of machines. Mr. Kalu lay still, tubes running from his arms, oxygen resting lightly under his nose. His face looked different now, softer, weaker, like the power he carried in the office had been left behind. Outside the room, voices whispered, Are we sure about this? We don't have a choice. Mr. Kalu's daughter stood by the glass, arms folded tight. Her name was Ada. Her eyes were fixed on David. He had just been wheeled back after the blood donation. A nurse guided him slowly into a chair. Take it easy, she said. You lost a lot of blood too. I'm fine, David replied. But he wasn't. His face was pale. His hands still shook slightly. Still, he didn't complain. Ada walked toward him, each step slow, careful, like she was trying to understand something that didn't make sense. You should be resting, she said. David nodded. I will. She studied his face. You saved my father. I tried. No, she said firmly. You did. A pause. Thank you. David looked down. You don't have to thank me, but I do. Silence stretched between them, then she asked, Have we met before? David froze for half a second, then shook his head. No. You're sure? Yes. Ada didn't look convinced. I would remember you, she said quietly. David forced a small smile. A lot of people say that. But his eyes avoided hers. Across the hallway, 2 executives stood near a vending machine. This is too strange, one said under his breath. The other nodded. Out of all the people in this city, a janitor is the only match? You're thinking what I'm thinking. The second man hesitated. I don't want to say it. Say it. It's not normal. They both looked toward David. Run a background check, the first man said. Quietly. The other nodded. Already started. That night, the hospital had grown quieter. Lights dimmed, footsteps softer, voices lower. David sat alone again, staring at the floor. His phone buzzed. He looked at it. A message. Unknown number. "Did you do it?" David swallowed. He typed slowly, "Yes." 3 dots appeared instantly. "And?" David stared at the screen, then replied, "He's alive." The typing bubble came back, then stopped, then came one message. "Good. Don't get involved more than you have to." David clenched his jaw. He didn't reply. He just locked the phone and leaned back, closing his eyes. Inside the ICU room, Mr. Kalu's fingers twitched, very slightly. The monitor beep changed. A nurse rushed in. "Doctor?" Moments later, the doctor entered. "Mr. Kalu, can you hear me?" A pause, then slowly. His eyes opened, blurry at first, then focusing, confused. "Where?" "You're in the hospital," the doctor said calmly. "You had a cardiac arrest, but you're safe now." Mr. Kalu blinked slowly, trying to remember. Then the boardroom, the pain, the fall. His chest tightened slightly. "How?" he whispered. "You were lucky," the doctor said. "Someone acted fast." Mr. Kalu's eyes shifted. "Who?" Morning news spread fast. By sunrise, everyone important in the company knew. "Mr. Kalu is awake." Phones rang, messages flew, and one question kept coming up. Who saved him? Ada walked into the room with a soft smile. "Dad." Mr. Kalu turned his head slowly. "Ada." She held his hand. "You scared me." He gave a weak smile. "I scared myself." They both laughed lightly. Then he asked, "Who saved me?" Ada hesitated, then said, "A staff member." "Who?" "A janitor." Mr. Kalu frowned slightly. "A janitor?" "Yes." He stared at the ceiling, processing it. "Where is he?" "He's still here." "I want to see him." Hallway David stood still as Ada approached him again. "My father wants to see you." David's heart skipped. "Now?" "Yes." A pause. David nodded. "Okay." Inside the room, David stepped in slowly. The room felt different now, quieter, heavier. Mr. Kalu turned his head. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, something passed between them, something neither of them could explain. "Sir," David said softly. Mr. Kalu studied him, long, carefully. "You're the one?" he asked. David nodded. "Yes, sir." "You saved my life?" "I just helped." Mr. Kalu shook his head slightly. "No, you did more than help." Silence. Then, "Come closer." David hesitated, then stepped forward. Mr. Kalu looked at him again. Really looked this time. His face, his eyes, his posture, like he was searching for something. "I don't forget faces," Mr. Kalu said slowly, "but I don't remember yours." David forced a calm expression. "We've never met, sir." Another pause. Then Mr. Kalu said, "Thank you." David nodded. "You're welcome." But Mr. Kalu didn't look away. Something was bothering him. He couldn't explain it, but it was there. Outside the room, the 2 executives stood with serious faces. "We got something," one said quietly. "What?" "His records." "And?" The man leaned closer. "He joined the company 6 months ago." "So?" "So, before that?" A pause. No stable address, no long-term job history, just gaps. The other frowned. "That's not normal." "It gets worse." "What?" The first man lowered his voice. "His mother's name." "What about it?" "She used to live in a neighborhood Mr. Kalu used to visit, years ago." Silence, heavy, dangerous. The second man stepped back slightly. "No." The first nodded slowly. "We need to be sure." Inside the hospital room, Mr. Kalu was still thinking, still watching the door David had walked out of. Something didn't sit right. Not fear, not anger. Just a feeling, like a memory trying to wake up. He turned to Ada. Get me something. What? A DNA test. Ada blinked. What? I want to be sure. Sure about what? Mr. Kalu's voice dropped. I don't believe in coincidences. Down the hallway, David walked slowly, his face calm, but his mind racing. He knew what was coming. He had always known, and this time there would be no hiding. The envelope sat on the table, untouched, heavy. Mr. Kalu stared at it like it could explode. Ada stood across from him, arms folded. You're really doing this? Mr. Kalu didn't look up. Yes. It could be nothing. It could also be something. Ada sighed. Dad, you just woke up. You should be resting, not digging into... I need peace of mind, he cut in. Silence. Ada looked at the envelope, then back at her father. Fine, she said quietly. Then open it. Mr. Kalu reached for it slowly. His fingers paused just above the paper. For a brief moment, he hesitated. Then he opened it. His eyes moved across the page, slowly, carefully, once, twice. Then they stopped. His face changed, not shock, not anger, something deeper, like a man watching his past walk into the present. Ada stepped closer. What does it say? Mr. Kalu didn't answer. His grip tightened on the paper. Dad? He looked up, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw fear. He's my son. The room went silent. No, Ada whispered. Mr. Kalu looked back at the paper. As high as it can be. There's no mistake. Ada shook her head slowly. That's not possible. But even as she said it, she remembered the blood match, the strange feeling, the way her father had been staring at him. Who is he? She asked softly. Mr. Kalu leaned back against the pillow. His eyes drifted away, far away. His mother. Flashback. Years ago. It wasn't always suits and boardrooms. There was a time when Mr. Kalu moved differently, less guarded, more careless, a small neighborhood, busy streets, loud music in the evenings. That's where he met her. Her name was Ifunanya. She wasn't rich, didn't care about money. She spoke her mind, laughed loudly, and didn't treat him like he was important. That's what pulled him in. What do you actually do? She had asked one evening, arms crossed. Mr. Kalu smiled. Business? She rolled her eyes. That means nothing. He laughed. I make money. She smirked. That's better. It wasn't serious. At least, not for him. They spent time together, talked, laughed, shared moments that felt real. But he had a life somewhere else, a future already planned. One morning, he left. No long speech, no promises, just distance. And that was it. Or so he thought. Back to present. Mr. Kalu closed his eyes. I didn't know, he said quietly. Ada's voice was soft. She never told you? No. Did you ever try to find her? Silence. That was the answer. Ada stepped back slowly, trying to process everything. So, all these years, he's been alive, Mr. Kalu finished, and you didn't know. Meanwhile, hospital cafeteria. David sat alone with a cup of coffee, untouched. He stared at it, like he wasn't even seeing it. A man walked in, sat across from him. Same man from the hallway earlier, the executive. You've been hard to find, the man said. David didn't react. I didn't know anyone was looking. The man smiled slightly. We always look. Silence. Then, who are you? David looked up. Their eyes locked. A worker, David said. That's not what I mean. Another pause. The man leaned forward. Your background doesn't make sense. Maybe you didn't look well. We looked very well. David said nothing. The man continued. You show up 6 months ago. No real history, no strong connections, and suddenly, he leaned closer. You're the only person who can save Mr. Kalu's life. David's jaw tightened slightly. That's luck. No, the man said softly. That's not luck. Silence. Heavy. Then, what do you want? David asked. The truth. David held his gaze, then said calmly, You're not ready for it. The man leaned back, studying him. You're hiding something. David didn't deny it. Stay away from him, the man added quietly. That made David pause. Why? Because if this is what I think it is. He didn't finish, but the message was clear. Back in the hospital room, Ada paced slowly. This is a lot, she said. Mr. Kalu nodded. I know. What are you going to do? He looked at the DNA result again, then said, I'm going to talk to him. Hallway David stood near the window, looking out, lost in thought. Ada approached him. David. He turned. Her face was different now, serious, careful. We need to talk. Inside the room, David stepped in again. This time, the air felt heavier. Mr. Kalu held the paper in his hand. He didn't speak immediately, just looked at him, long, deep. Sit down, Mr. Kalu said. David remained standing. I'm fine here. A pause. Then Mr. Kalu said, I did a test. David's expression didn't change. I know, he said. That caught both of them off guard. Ada frowned. You knew? David nodded slowly. Silence filled the room. Then Mr. Kalu asked the question, the one that had been building since the moment he collapsed. Are you my son? David didn't answer immediately. He looked at Mr. Kalu, really looked at him. Then finally, yes. Ada covered her mouth. Mr. Kalu didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even breathe for a moment. Then one question came out, low, heavy. Did you know before that day? David's eyes dropped. Then came the truth. Yes. And just like that, everything changed. The room went still. You could hear the machines. You could hear breathing. But no one spoke. Mr. Kalu stared at David, not as a boss, not as a stranger, but as a man trying to understand how his own blood had been standing in front of him. All this time. You knew, Mr. Kalu said slowly. David nodded. Yes. Ada shook her head. Since when? David hesitated, then answered. Since I was 16. Silence. 16? Ada repeated. David nodded. That was when my mum told me. Mr. Kalu leaned forward slightly. Why didn't you come to me? The question came out sharper than expected. Not angry, but heavy. David looked at him. You weren't hard to find. That hit. I saw you on TV, in interviews, in magazines, David continued. Big man, big life. Mr. Kalu didn't speak. So I asked my mum. Why didn't you tell him? And what did she say? Ada asked quietly. David's eyes softened for a moment. She said, some people don't stay, even when they should. Mr. Kalu looked down. That one landed deep. I wanted to come, David continued. Many times. What stopped you? Mr. Kalu asked. David gave a small dry smile. Reality. What does that mean? Ada asked. It means I knew how it would look. He spread his hands slightly. Poor boy shows up at a rich man's door, claiming to be his son. He shook his head. No proof, no chance. Mr. Kalu's voice dropped. I would have listened. David looked at him for a long moment, then said, Would you? That question sat heavy in the air, because deep down, even Mr. Kalu wasn't sure David's story. My mom raised me alone, David continued. It wasn't easy. Some days we had food, some days we didn't. Ada listened quietly. She worked 2 jobs, still smiled, still pushed me. A small pause. Then she got sick. Mr. Kalu's eyes lifted slowly. Hospital bills piled up. We couldn't keep up. David's voice stayed steady, but his eyes told the truth. One night, she called me close. He swallowed. And she told me everything. About you, he added, looking at Mr. Kalu. Mr. Kalu didn't move. She gave me a small envelope, David continued. Old photos, your name, a few details. Ada whispered, You still have it? David nodded. Always. What happened to her? Mr. Kalu asked. David's jaw tightened. She died 2 weeks later. Silence, deep, painful. I buried her alone. Ada looked away. Her eyes filled. Mr. Kalu closed his eyes briefly. For the first time, regret wasn't just a thought. It was real. So what did you do after that? Ada asked softly. David exhaled slowly. I worked. Anywhere that would take me. Construction, cleaning, loading trucks. Then one day, he looked at Mr. Kalu again. I saw your company hiring. Mr. Kalu's eyes narrowed slightly. I didn't apply for an office job, David said. I knew I wouldn't get it. So I applied as a janitor. Ada frowned. Just to be close to him. David nodded. Yes. Why? Mr. Kalu asked. This time, David didn't answer immediately. He took a breath, then said, I wanted to see you for myself. See what? Ada asked. What kind of man you were? That landed hard. The truth nobody expected. Mr. Kalu leaned forward. And what did you see? David met his eyes. I saw a strong man, a respected man, a feared man. A pause. But I didn't see a father. The words were calm, but they cut deep. Mr. Kalu leaned back slowly, like something had just hit him. The most important question. Then why? Mr. Kalu asked, his voice almost a whisper. If you felt that way, why save me? The room held its breath. David didn't hesitate this time. Because my mother would have wanted me to. Silence. She never hated you, David added softly. Even at the end. She didn't. Mr. Kalu looked away, his eyes slightly wet. And me? He asked quietly. David paused, then answered honestly. I didn't know you. That was it. Not anger, not hate, just truth. Outside the room, the executives stood frozen. They had heard everything, every word. One of them whispered, This changes everything. The other nodded slowly. Yes, it does. Back inside, Mr. Kalu looked at David again. Long, careful. You saved my life, he said. David didn't respond. I owe you everything. David shook his head. No. Mr. Kalu frowned slightly. No. I didn't do it for anything, David said. Then what do you want? Ada asked. David looked at both of them and asked the question. If I wasn't your son, a pause. Would I still matter? Silence filled the room. Mr. Kalu didn't answer immediately because this time there was no easy answer. David stepped back slowly. I think I should go. Ada looked surprised. Go? Just like that? David nodded. I've said what I needed to say. He turned, walked toward the door. Mr. Kalu watched him. Didn't stop him. Didn't call his name. Because something inside him was still trying to catch up. And as the door opened and David stepped out, Mr. Kalu realized something for the first time in his life. Money couldn't fix this. Power couldn't control this. This was personal. The room felt empty, too quiet. Ada looked at her father. Aren't you going to stop him? Mr. Kalu didn't answer. His eyes were still fixed on the door. I don't think he's coming back, Ada added. Still nothing. Then finally, Mr. Kalu spoke, low, slow. I don't deserve to stop him. Ada frowned. What does that mean? Mr. Kalu exhaled deeply. It means I had years. Years to be a father, and I wasn't there. Silence. You didn't know, Ada said gently. Mr. Kalu shook his head. That doesn't change the result. That was the truth, and for once, he didn't try to hide from it. 3 days later, Mr. Kalu was discharged from the hospital. Back at the company building, things felt different. People whispered more, looked around more, because now everyone knew. The janitor is his son. I heard it too. No way. David walked through the hallway like nothing had changed. Same uniform, same quiet steps, same job. But the air around him, different. One worker approached him. "Hey, is it true?" David kept walking. "I'm here to work," he said calmly. Top floor, office. Mr. Kalu stood by the window, looking down at the city. He hadn't returned to full work yet, but his mind, it was working harder than ever. A knock. "Ada," she walked in. "You've been standing there all morning." "I'm thinking about him." Mr. Kalu nodded. "What are you going to do?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. "Then I'm going to fix this." Ada raised an eyebrow. "How?" Mr. Kalu turned, not as a businessman, not as a boss, but as a man who had made a mistake. "I'm going to start by being honest." Later, maintenance floor footsteps approached, slow, firm. He didn't look up until... "David." He froze. That voice. He turned slowly. Mr. Kalu stood there, no bodyguards, just him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Mr. Kalu said, "Can we talk?" David nodded. Empty room. They stood facing each other. No distractions, no audience. "I've been thinking," Mr. Kalu started. David waited. "I can't change the past." That was clear. "But I don't want to ignore the present." David's eyes stayed on him. "I know I don't deserve anything from you," Mr. Kalu continued. "No forgiveness, no respect, nothing." A pause. "But I'm asking for a chance." David's expression didn't change. "A chance to what?" he asked. Mr. Kalu took a breath. "To be part of your life." Silence. Not a small silence, a heavy one. David looked away for a moment, thinking. "You had that chance before," he said. "I know," Mr. Kalu replied, "and I failed." No excuses, no pride, just truth. That mattered. "What do you want from me?" David asked. "Nothing," Mr. Kalu said. That surprised him. "Nothing?" David repeated. Mr. Kalu shook his head. "I don't want to force anything. I don't want to buy your trust. I don't want to rush you." He stepped closer. "I just want the opportunity to show up." That was different. David studied him carefully. This wasn't the man from the boardroom. This was someone else. Someone trying. "You can't fix everything overnight," David said. "I'm not trying to," Mr. Kalu replied. Another pause. Then David said, "I don't need money." "I know. I don't need a position in your company." "I know. I don't even need you to act like a father." That one hit, but Mr. Kalu nodded anyway. "I understand." David took a breath. "But if you're serious..." Mr. Kalu leaned slightly forward. "Then start small." Silence. "What does that mean?" he asked. David looked at him. "Be consistent." That was it. "Don't disappear." Mr. Kalu nodded slowly. "I won't." They stood there, not as strangers anymore, not fully as family. But something had changed, something real. Weeks later, a small restaurant. Nothing fancy. David sat at a table, checking his phone. The door opened. Mr. Kalu walked in. On time, no delay, no excuses. He saw David, walked over. "Sorry, traffic," then stopped. "No," he corrected himself. "I left late." David looked at him, then nodded slightly. Mr. Kalu sat. Awkward silence. Then, "What do you want to eat?" Mr. Kalu asked. David shrugged. "Anything." They both smiled a little. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for the first time, they were starting from the same place. Sometimes, family isn't about where you start. It's about what you choose to build. And sometimes, the person you almost ignored turns out to be the one who saves your life. If this story touched you, don't just scroll away. Like this video, drop a comment, What would you do if you were in David's place? And subscribe for more powerful stories like this, because the next story might hit even harder.